Hello and welcome to Overdrive. This is Honda's new offering in the 160cc space, the 160cc power commuter space to be precise. This is called the Honda SP160. Now, as you're aware, Honda has been playing big on the SP branding in the commuter space. We've seen the SP125, which also leads the charts for that segment, and now they aim to do something similar with this, the SP160. Now, as you would expect, at the heart of this motorcycle is the familiar 162cc engine that also has been powering reliably the Honda Unicorn for years now. It also finds its way in the X-Blade, and now you see it here on the SP160. It puts out about 13.4 PS of power and about 14.5 Newton meters of torque. So give or take a little bit here and there between the Unicorn and the X-Blade, and you have similar power figures and torque figures for the SP160 as well. Now, this motorcycle is going to be placed between the two bikes that I just mentioned. So the Unicorn starts at about 1,10,000 if I'm not wrong, and the X-Blade goes up to about 1.2. So I'm expecting this to be at about 1.15, 1.16. Now, this doesn't really take on the likes of the NS160 from Bajaj, or the N160 for that matter, or even the Extreme 160R. This is more of a commuter, but I think the styling works really well. So what you get right on at the front is the LED headlamp cluster. You also get that wasp-like face that we've seen on the Hornets from Honda. A little bit of that X-Blade inspiration as well, but this one looks a lot cleaner compared to the fascia of the X-Blade. Even the visor is not too aggressive. It looks quite nice. So there is a bit of that Unicorn and X-Blade mix that you see here. When you move to the tank, it's a 12-liter tank, again comparable to the X-Blade and the Unicorn, and it does get these tank extensions, these shrouds. You will also see these vents right here. That adds a bit of a sporty touch. You will see a similar design theme going on here on the side profile as well. Here you see the SP branding, and when you move to the tail, you've got again a tail light that is inspired from Honda's current lineup of power commuters. It looks quite sporty to me. I think it looks quite nice. They have standard halogen bulbs for the turn blinkers, but I think the overall design is quite nice. Again, the grab handles aren't as aggressive as what we've seen on the X-Blade. They are still a bit more conservative like what we've seen on the Unicorn, but I think that design looks quite nice. You get the 160 branding at the back, so that's essentially SP160 that you see on the side profile. Now, that is the exhaust. Again, a very simple design for the exhaust. You get a powdered finish for the exhaust, for the engine. That all black treatment, I think, looks quite nice. Now, in terms of the tire sizes, it gets a really wide rear tire, 130 at the rear and 80/100 at the front. Now, like most products from Honda in this space, you get the option of a dual disc setup, or you can have a 130 disc at the rear. So that's going to be the slightly cheaper variant, of course. Now let's go to the console. Unfortunately, I can't switch on the bike. I can't turn on the ignition and give you a listen to what the exhaust sounds like, because they are not allowing us to do that. But let's talk about the console. You get a fully digital console right here. You can see the tachometer, the gear position indicator, the fuel gauge, speedometer, side stand indicator, the clock, the odometer reading, and of course the trip computer as well. So now the interesting bit about the trip computer is it's not going to show you only how many kilometers you've traveled. It's also going to show you the average speed for that particular trip, average fuel economy, fuel consumption, average riding, the overall riding time, etc. So all that data is also going to be available, which I think is a neat touch. That is something that people can definitely use. And this is the reverse cluster, like they call it. So it's got a darker background and lighter shades for the actual readouts. and I think this should work pretty well even in broad daylight. We've seen that in the past with other Honda motorcycles from their premium range as well, and it works quite well. Now in terms of the switch gear, again familiar switch gear, quality is pretty decent. There's a nice tactile feel to all the switches. So in terms of the overall fit and finish of the things that you're going to touch on the motorcycle, it just feels quite nice. The cable routing and everything is also done pretty well. You can see the switchgear on this side. This is for your lights, the turn blinkers, the horn, etc. And that tactile feel continues here as well. Decent design for the grips. You also get these bar and weights. We know this engine is a pretty refined motor, not too many vibrations coming off it, but little touches like these should make the experience even better. No adjustable levers, of course, you can't really expect that in this space, but I think it's quite nicely done. In terms of the mirrors, yes, that finish could have been slightly better. This still has a few rough edges, but again, not something that you're going to touch often, so I'm okay with that. Now in terms of the colors, there are 6 colors that are going to be available on this motorcycle. The one that I'm showing you right now is the blue, but there are going to be a total of 6 colors on this bike. In terms of the gearbox, you get a 5-speed transmission, and because this is a power commuter, you only get the toe shifter and you do not get the heel shifter. I quite like the design for the rear as well. The rear foot peg sits on this little bracket and it extends into a very compact sari guard. I think that looks quite nice. The alloy wheel design is pretty neutral, nothing to write home about, but it's a handsome looking design anyway. And you also get this little shroud right below the engine. It doesn't really cover the engine much. It is an air-cooled motor at the end of the day. It doesn't really cover the engine much, but adds that sporty touch. So all in all, I think a very good looking motorcycle. It should be very easy as well in terms of the riding ergonomics. The seat height at 796 millimeters is comparable again to the Unicorn and the X-Blade, which means the riding ergos, the overall seating position, etc. is going to be comparable. So not much to choose between the 3 motorcycles if you are purely looking at different seating positions. Do let me know what do you think about the overall design of this bike. I think it's a safe design, let's put it that way. And I think it's a smart looking motorcycle for those shopping in the power commuter space. Like I mentioned, I expect the pricing to be somewhere between 1.15 to 1.18 lakh rupees for the drum and the dual disc variants respectively. And I think that's going to be the only choice. I don't think they're going to add more. And before we sign off, I'm just going to quickly give you a look at the spec sheet of this motorcycle. So let me know what do you think about the bike in the comments below. We hope to ride it very soon, and that review will be out on Overdrive as well. Thank you so much for watching. Until the next one, take care and ride safe.